Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland, released in 1989. You may remember that I said parts 2 and 3 of this series were filmed back to back. What I didn't mention is that the total production time for shooting both movies was only 6 weeks, which, if you're not familiar with filmmaking, is flat out fucking insane. In fact, Fritz Gordon was writing the script while they were shooting part 2, leaving director Michael A. Simpson and his returning crew from Unhappy Campers with only a single weekend of pre-production between wrapping part 2 and beginning production on part 3. That's how you get an exhausted crew. Teenage Wasteland sees Pamela Springsteen returning as Angela 1 year after the events of part 2, with the Camp Rolling Hills massacre weighing heavily on all the new characters here, including a cop who, turns out, is the father of part 2's hunky heartthrob, Sean. Even though this movie was made by all of the same people, Sleepaway Camp 3 lacks any of the charm that made the first Sleepaway sequel somewhat interesting. The most glaring problem here is that there's hardly any kind of plot or storyline. All we get is a bunch of paper-thin characters, for some reason named after West Side Story and Brady Bunch characters, getting killed off by Angela one by one. The kills were heavily censored, so there's not anything to enjoy in the gore department, and even Pamela Springsteen, who brought so much energy to part 2, seems really bored and disinterested as she murders her way through another summer camp. Maybe Teenage Wasteland can outdo its predecessors in quantity of kills. I don't know, let's find out and get to them. The movie begins in a girl's bedroom, cause how else you gonna get some immediate tits? Hey, don't look at me, lady. I'm not the one getting a close-up of those milkshake tattoos you got there. I said don't look at me. You've gotta pretend like the camera isn't there. Come on. This camera spiker, named Maria, goes outside to a busy city street where she's immediately attacked by a giant Mack truck? Wait, did I put in maximum overdrive? The truck chases her into an alley and runs her into some trash, killing this brand new character in record time. Turns out Maria's murderer wasn't an evil truck dreamt up by Stephen King and cocaine. It was just Angela. And after disposing of the body, she takes Maria's place on a bus headed to Camp New Horizons. Cue some grade school looking graffiti and a title card. And let's turn that shit red with rock. To set up this movie's sorry excuse for a storyline, reporter Tawny Richards is here with exposition at 11. Camp New Horizons, formerly Camp Rolling Hills, is under new leadership in the form of this couple, Herman and Lily Miranda. Herman explains how they picked their campers, but for some reason, he can barely make it through his lines without laughing.
The first group is from the higher class establishments, and the other is from lower class homes.
That's Academy Award nominated actor Michael J. Pollard, whose acclaim comes from his supporting role in 1967's Bonnie and Clyde. 20 years later, and the dude's acting like Jimmy Fallon during an SNL sketch, or like an annoying cousin at a family get-together. The reporter introduces all of the campers, starting with the kids from the upper class group, and by time they make their way through the lower class kids, it's just turned into the East-West College Bowl sketch.
I'm Snowboy, of Chicago.
Anita Bertram, Sawtell Gap, Kentucky.
Tony De Herrera, East LA.
Rev, Detroit.
Angela introduces herself as Maria from New York, since she'll be trying to blend in with these other campers, such as debutante Kimmy from Prejudice Township.
God, that Tony guy is so cute. He's Mexican.
Oh boy. When Tawny starts talking about the camp's history and Angela Baker's murders, Lily shuts the news report down. But before Tawny leaves, she tries asking Angela where she can score some coke.
Yeah, there's a machine in the dining hall.
Tawny probably should have just laughed at that bad joke and left, but instead, she hangs around long enough for Angela to use some cleaning product to make a fake idol, or fake 8-ball.
It'll really clean your pipes.
And that it does, because after Tawny tries it, Tawny buys it, dying with a bloody face in the driver's seat of her car. Back to you, Angela. While waiting for the festivities to begin, Angela gets teased with a firecracker, and that leads to some bewildering acting choices courtesy of Michael Pollard.
Just a firecracker. Your city brat should be used to that.
What are you even doing right now, dude? Yeah, you don't know either. They have a camp-wide meeting in the rec hall while an obnoxious synthy beat plays on Riff's boombox. Dude, could you turn that off? It sounds like Helper's drum tracks from Shallow Gravy. Thank you. Lily introduces the camp's third counselor, a cop named Barney, and the presence of a police officer not only gets Angela anxious, but also causes a fight to break out between some of the kids. Luckily, Barney's able to slow motion disarm Riff before he can cut open this Tony guy with his knife. After some of the girls provide the requisite nudity for this cheap slasher comedy, the campers break up into 3 separate groups, each led by a different counselor. For the next 3 days, everyone's supposed to rough it in the woods together so they can learn how to love and understand each other or some shit like that. I guess they're off to a good start, since after Tony gives Barney some grief for being a cop, he lightens up on the officer when Barney says he's doing this in memory of his son Sean, who was killed the previous year by Angela Baker. Aw, damn. I guess that means Sean's cop dad wasn't Officer Fakestash. Bummer. Herman sends Angela and some dudes in his group to go fish, so he can try using his charms on another camper named Jan.
Daddy won't make you go fishing if you don't want to, sweet pea.
Oh, okay, I guess we're back to having a predatory camp owner. But why is this chick Jan into it? What is there to be into here? What the fuck, man? While fishing, Angela catches the knockoff Jason mask from the previous movie before she's once again scared by an M80, courtesy of camper Peter. That sends her back to the campsite, where she opens a tent to find Herman and Jan being gross. Although they come out of the tent one at a time, they both get the same death sentence, getting lazily beaten to death by Angela with a branch. Later on, Snowboy, the graffiteur, and Peter, the pyro, get back to the campsite and bug Angela some more by lighting explosives and screaming sequel subtitles.
Teenage Wasteland!
So that night, while they're sleeping, Angela sticks a firecracker in Peter's nose and lights the fuse. Snowboy wakes up just in time to see his buddy's face explode, which looks pretty painful, but I bet it cleared his sinuses right up. Angela uses another tree branch to knock Snowboy out before dragging him into the tent with the still topless Jan corpse. She douses the whole thing in gasoline and lights it ablaze, melting Snowboy to death while she yucks it up some more by roasting marshmallows in the fire. Very funny, Angela, but why don't you go get some more kills? The next morning, she relocates herself to Lily's campsite and says that Herman told her to switch groups with this biker chick, Arab. That's her name, man, I don't know. Angela escorts Arab back to Herman's campsite and is quite the little schemer in killing her, kicking her into a tent and then decapitating her with an axe. This was one of many kills that had more graphic footage cut to get an R rating, and man does the movie suffer for it. With her group now consisting of Angela, Riff, Cindy, and this Bobby Stark dude, Lily has a sharing and caring circle where the campers tell each other their favorite kinds of movies.
Was with really good acting.
Oh, so not this one.
Ones with tits and blood.
So this one. During the sharing and caring circle, Cindy shares her Culture from Prejudice Township when she drops a hard N-bomb. Whoa there, lady! Actor Kim Wall was pretty funny in the behind-the-scenes stuff I saw, since she was not a fan of her character's racism.
I played it, but I wasn't comfortable with those words because I don't use them. I don't even like racism where people talk about their own ethnicity or race in a degrading way. That bothers me. If someone's Italian and they use like a derogatory term, I'm like, don't do that. And they're like, but I'm Italian. I'm like, I don't care. Just don't do it. It's negative.
To cool off all this racial tension, Lily starts an ill-advised trust exercise that involves blindfolds and power dynamics. Yeah, that'll work out great with these kids. During the exercise, Cindy messes with Angela. So when their roles are reversed, Angela enacts her revenge by leading the southern rich girl to a flagpole and attaching the rope to her pants. Angela flies Cindy up the flagpole and puts her in danger, Harvey style, before dropping her down and killing her with a wicked head splat against the ground. Once again, the original footage for this kill was much cooler than what we ended up with. Shame they had to cut it. Since Lily's a lazy do-nothing, she sends Angela to handle her camp chores. And while she's back at the cabins, Angela has some flashbacks to her time in the previous movie. Yep, nothing like a freezer in the kitchen to remind me of being on stage in the rec hall. Oh well, at least this gives the movie an excuse to include the Happy Camper song.
Oh, I'm a happy camper.
That's always fun. Back at the campsite, Lily begins, what? Another goddamn trust exercise? Yo, maybe we could use a trust rest day, you know? This exercise involves tying Angela together with clueless collegian Bobby and sending them to go fishing. While they're alone, Bobby admits that he likes Angela and then turns into an animal who she has to slap away.
I thought you wanted it.
No!
Your type always does.
Despite the harassment, they manage to catch some fish, but they're unable to get any cooking help from Riff, who waves Angela away with a gun that he has. Just like with Cindy, Riff's actor, Daryl Wilcher, was also totally unlike his character and was surprised about his casting.
I really didn't identify with Riff that much because I'm kind of a introverted, nerdy type, and so it really surprised me when they like, "You're gonna play Riff." So I was like, "Okay, I'll play Riff," and pull from whatever background I have to pull off this thug role.
Barney's group is getting along much better than Lily's, with the cop even opening up about what he would do to Angela Baker if he ever ran into her.
I'd kill her.
Maybe a little too much sharing there, Barney. Final girl Marcia and that Tony guy hit it off one night after he escorts her into the woods to pee. Romantic. And the next day, during one of those well-designed trust exercises, they learn more about each other and their very different upbringings.
Tony, are you in a gang?
Yeah.
Really?
Where I come from, everybody is.
These characters are so poorly written that I thought he was just fucking with her at first, but apparently he's not.
I wish I could get out.
Okay, whatever. At least this guy gets consent before moving in to make out. That's a rarity in these movies. Annoyed by Lily's laziness, Angela convinces the counselor to join her for the blindfold game, and then leads her to a trash pit that she forces her to trust fall into. She buries Lily while singing the Happy Camper song.
Oh, I'm a happy camper.
And when Lily's up to her neck in trash, Angela listens to Bagul and gets the lawnmower out. The MPAA hated Lily's death the most, so that's why there's not much left to look at here, even though the kill's original footage wasn't that graphic to begin with. After the sun sets, Bobby meets Angela and agrees to get tied up by her, hoping to fulfill some latent fantasies he has.
This is like something in one of those dirty magazines, you know? Bondage camp.
But the only fantasy Angela's interested in is her own, and unfortunately for Bobby, it's blood that she's lusting after. So after tying him up, she drives away with the rope attached to her Jeep, which tears off his arms. Once again, the theatrical version is boring, since it was cut to shit. And once again, the stuff they were forced to remove isn't even all that bad. Or, maybe I'm just super fucked up and desensitized at this point. Riff, the only surviving camper from Lily's group, is hanging out in his tent and listening to his boombox when Angela slides him a mixtape, which is what you had to do before SoundCloud links were a thing. Let's see if Angela can spit rhymes like hot fire.
Say your prayers and make amends, 'cause your life story is about to end.
Nope. When Riff tries to get out of the tent, Angela drives a stake through his hand and then his body, killing him in another mostly unseen kill and finishing off Lily's camping group. The next morning, Angela moves on to the third and final group of campers, the one led by Officer Barney.
Herman wants me in this group. I'm supposed to switch. With Marcia.
Barney goes with them to talk to Herman, but during a pit stop at the rec hall, Marcia finds the headless body of Lily, and Angela stops putting up a front.
You remind me of this girl I used to know. Her name was Molly.
Marcia runs away, and Angela takes out Riff's gun so she can deal with Officer Barney, who by now has realized exactly who she is.
You look just like your son when you get mad.
Ooh, low blow, Angela. Although they have an intense stare down, Barney's death ends up being anticlimactic, since Angela just shoots him 3 times against the kitchen wall, then frames his crotch for the kill. They'll never suspect a thing. Angela hops in a Jeep and tracks down Marcia, who she then abducts, and that night she returns to Tony and the last couple of campers. She gets them to come with her to the main cabin by telling the most believable lie she could think of.
We're gonna play some kind of a trust game or something.
Yep, checks out. After tying them all together and showing them Barney's corpse, Angela makes them play a game where they have to find Marcia, which is really just an excuse to showcase all the corpses she's made so far. In the end, they do find Marcia, but after a couple of axes swing down, campers Greg and Anita are left dead against the wall, with Tony tied up in the middle of them. Just be happy it's not a human centipede situation there, Tony. Angela congratulates Tony on surviving, and since he and Marcia are nice kids, she has no problem leaving them alive as she makes her exit.
Bye.
But Marcia's not content to let this slide, so she gets free and attacks Angela, punching her in the face and ending their leafy roll around with some gut stabs. Damn, nice work, Marcia. Unfortunately, Tony stops her right in the middle of this double tap. So after emergency vehicles arrive to end the movie, the first responders in the ambulance with Angela realize that she's still alive. They debate killing her off for the good of all camp kind, but before they can, she springs into action with a syringe, stabbing the paramedic in the chest and the attendant pretending cop in the eye, ending the movie with 2 more kills and 1 more crappy line.
Just taking care of business.
How many kills can you get in a movie if you take out any plot or storyline? Let's find out and get to the numbers. Because I'm a happy counter even when the count is high, and if I so desire, I'll count kills until I die. Yeah! 16 people died in Sleepaway Camp 3, falling too short of Part 2's count. What a waste of good teenage kills. The victims included 9 men and 7 women, giving us a very nearly even pie chart, and with a runtime of only 79 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 4.94 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Lily. Yeah, you don't actually get to see much, but lawn mowing a head is a pretty neat idea, and at least we get to see the headless corpse later on. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Snowboy, who was burned alive in a tent. Why does that explosion happen? Maybe some of Peter's fireworks? Who knows? And that's it. Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland came out in 1989 and is a perfect example of how lazy the slasher subgenre had gotten by the end of the 80s. Now, there was an aborted sequel called Part 4 The Survivor, but it was never actually finished, so I can't really do a kill count on it, can I? Instead, next week I'll be looking at Return to Sleepaway Camp, made by the creator of the first movie, Robert Hiltzik. But until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this week's Kill Count. I want to thank some patrons like Caleb Broker, Brianne Schlegelmilk, Nate Alshire, Louis May, and Jacob Moss. For everyone who's been wanting more Crypt TV Kill Counts, you'll have a nice surprise on Sunday. And don't forget that the Friday Kill Counts in July will be Jaws. And don't forget, the first ever Dead Meat live show is next month at RTX. Link in the description. Thanks everybody, be good people.